Oh, that's what we wanted.
What's
Almost.
Yeah. All right. I'm not bring him in.
You making me bring him in?
I don't want to smash the buttons.
There we go.
Stop
There he
mashing
is.
buttons.
I didn't touch anything.
I'm not a part of this show.
Mr. Buchanan, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Great. Thank you for taking time during this busy holiday season to jump on the podcast and talk a little.
Yeah, I've had to retreat to my basement office. Family's starting to come in for the holidays, so I'm in Clark Griswold mode. I'm down here hiding.
You have 10,000 lights up on the front of the house yet?
Oh yeah, there. Yeah, I get my family calls me Clark Griswold every year. I'm yeah.
Where do you rank Christmas Vacation among the holiday movies? It's got to be up in top 5 at least, right?
It's top 2. Christmas Vacation, and probably Christmas Story.
Good call.
Followed closely by Elf. Yeah.
But all right, to you, Die Hard, Christmas movie or not Christmas movie?
Christmas movie, yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
How about Gremlins? Christmas movie or?
I don't feel very Christmassy when I watch the Gremlins.
Well, it's scary. That's why.
Yeah.
Now, Bull, I know you said your family's coming in. Do you have a cousin Eddie in your family?
You know what scares me the most is I might be cousin Eddie in the family. I'm not sure. But if I'm not, yeah, we've got quite a few of them. Yeah. I'm always afraid, and nobody ever says it, but I'm always afraid that I might be cousin Eddie. So
I don't think there's anything. Cousin Eddie's a good time.
Oh yeah. No, a Christmas Vacation, man. There's I don't know. There's we put it on sometimes and just let it play all through the holidays. I think one year there, me and my wife were still watching it way into February.
Well, some of the channels just air it nonstop on top of everything too.
Yeah, that Christmas Story, that's almost a tradition around here is to watch Christmas Story for 24 hours.
You know, if you look at Cousin Eddie as a character, like he's not the brightest guy in the family, but he's got a heart of gold. Like what he does for Clark when he knows that Clark's annoyed at his boss that he didn't get his bonus to build the pool. What did he do? He went out and kidnapped his boss.
Yeah. We've definitely got some Eddies in the family.
People out there cooking chicken on rocks in Vegas. Yeah.
Bull, thank you again for joining us during the holiday season. You got a lot going up. Everybody knows you from the Truth Commission and Right to Censor and the USWA and All Japan and NOAA. You're changing the gears now. You're going into this Bullpen Professional Wrestling where this seems like a rebirth and you're heavily involved. So tell us a little bit about Bullpen.
Yeah, in June of 2024, we started running here in my hometown. Right out of the gate, did great. Did over 400 people first show. Nice. And I've used my connections, and I hate to say used my friends, but I've used my friends to help with that. We brought Ron Simmons in. I believe was the first. We brought Ron Simmons in. Went up close to 600. Then we brought Devon Dudley in. Got close to 700. Brought Godfather in. I think between 500 and 600. So I brought a lot of my friends in. Let them, let the fans around here, because a lot of these guys, they're not generally in this area out here in West Georgia. So it gives the fans out here a chance to see some folks that they may not normally get to see unless they went to a convention or something like that. But we started it up. It's been going great. I tell everybody, but I mean, I think it's something to be pretty proud of. I don't toot my own horn very much, but through our first year, we started in June. We were running once a month, and we added another town there toward the end of the year. But through our first year, our average attendance was 420 people. I haven't sat down and because we added quite a few more shows this year. Delta, Alabama, Roanoke, Alabama. We live in the West Georgia, East Alabama area. We live about 5 or 6 miles from the Alabama state line, so we jump back and forth. So we're not necessarily a Georgia promotion, and we're not necessarily an Alabama promotion. But yeah, and training school, my business model all along has been to train, the same business model WWE has and has had for a while. It's OVW, it's Smoky Mountain, it's USWA. It's the same. Nothing that I thought of. I'm just doing it the way I learned how to do it. But our school has produced 6 or 7 pretty good guys, and my business model all along was to build them up and make them the stars of the show. And I brought in a lot of my old friends to do that, and it's worked. My heavyweight champ, my Bull of the Woods heavyweight champion, which is our version of the Bullpen heavyweight champion, is Xavier Cross, a Bullpen graduate. My TV champion, JT Paradox, Bullpen graduate. My light heavyweight champion, Dante Diamond, Bullpen graduate. Trey Jordan, Ryan Wendell, another graduate, was former light heavyweight champion. Trey Jordan is working all over the state of Georgia and Alabama. Kyle Gunner just has got started. He's already in the main event picture with like you said, the Rebirth guys. Basically, in a nutshell, and just the cliff notes on the whole thing, I guess the trainees and young guys got mad because they thought that the old guys were holding them down. I guess that includes me. So they formed their own little faction called the Rebirth, and here we go. I guess this year will be the year of the Rebirth. It's starting to look like.
And it looks like you're still out there. You're involved in this. Like, you're wrestling too.
Yeah. I say this with all sincerity. Like I said, I honestly, in the beginning, I didn't even want a promotion. I just wanted to school. I would much rather be remembered for the people that I got in the business and the people that I got to have the chance to actually make a living in the business like I did. I'd much rather be remembered for that than being a promoter. I'd much rather be remembered as a trainer of guys that could go than a promoter. And I really didn't want a promotion. What I wanted was a school and a small building that I could run, maybe a couple of hundred people that I could put my trainees out in front of and let them get experience, AKA Ohio Valley Wrestling. But it just kind of snowballed into this. And some old feuds from the past have raised their head, and I wrestled last year at our December show. Took me almost a month and a half to recover from that. I wrestled at our anniversary show this year in June. Once again, same thing, and then I can't do it anymore. It's not any fun anymore when you can't go out there and you don't want to embarrass yourself. And when it takes you that long to recover just from one match, it's not fun anymore. I have just as much fun behind the scenes now as I do out in front. So I'm trying to nip that in the bud, trying to cut that off pretty quick.
Do you have something you enjoy? Is there something now as a guy behind the scenes that you saw back in the day that you can now really appreciate? Like, you're on the other side now. You're, as a wrestler, you're like, I don't want to fucking do that. I don't want to sit down and write TV. But now you're on the other side. Is there something where you're like, you know what? This is actually a lot of fun.
I enjoy producing. I enjoy putting these matches together and seeing what I can come up with and letting these guys basically letting nature take its course. From the beginning, I brought in a bunch of my friends who are maybe not quite my age, but guys that I worked with here on the Indies in Georgia and Alabama. Brought them in so the young guys could learn from them. And then, and then the young guys turn into stars. I just thought there would be a little more gratitude than there is right now. I don't know if that's a generational thing or if maybe I just, didn't didn't crack the whip hard enough or what. But yeah, that's what it's turned into. But I love I enjoy producing this stuff. It's I had no idea. The which WWE is kind of a major company. You have however many employees. You can imagine there's departments for travel, there's departments for this, there's departments for creative, for costumes, for all that. With this, you're looking at it. I'm creative. I'm talent relations. I'm travel. I'm everything. I'm the ride from the airport. It's a lot of work, man. Hats off to a lot of these guys, the hundreds and maybe thousands of promoters I've run across through the years. Worked for and knew and just you look at it totally different from a talent standpoint. It is. It's nice to go in there and just drop your bag and look up and see who you're working and get ready and go do it, and then it'll get you money and leave. But man, it's long days sometimes. Sometimes about it. We either start the night before or the morning of, and it's a full day, and we're there till 1, 2 o'clock at night. So it's a lot of work. But man, I didn't know that back 20 years ago, I didn't know that there would be anything that I could do that would be as much fun as wrestling. I don't know if this is as much fun, but it's pretty close second. And it's kind of like softball. It ain't baseball, but at least I can play. So, at least I can still do this and enjoy it. I can't get out there and really wrestle that much anymore or do it effectively, but I can do this, and hopefully I can still do it for a little while at least. I don't know. I thought I was on the verge of a stroke or a heart attack a couple times last year, so maybe we'll make it through it.
And Bullpen Professional Wrestling you have a YouTube channel and you have all social medias, but you guys are also on EC USA TV, East Coast USA TV. How does something like that come about? Because everybody has a YouTube channel, but it's hard for some of these promotions to find a home such as EC USA TV.
These guys are startup. They reached out, and I saw where they had reached out and reached out back to them, and we got together and worked out a deal, and yeah, man, it's great. It's EC USA TV. It's Roku. If you got Roku, just download it's free app. They're on pretty much everything. Apple TV, Fire. They're on all that. So yeah, it's a huge deal for us. We when we first started our first show, WWE was nice enough to let my son Brooks Jensen. He came up and got a little promo there in the ring. So we've always had the affiliation that I had with WWE. Nothing official or nothing like that. But I always tell guys, when you do business the right way, you do business the way you're supposed to do it. I've had a good relationship with those guys since the day I walked out the door. Which is shown that I've been back a few times, been on TV a couple of times, been back a few times, been invited down as a guest coach. So it's just I think when you do business the right way, things like that kind of fall in your lap. But this was just kind of out of the blue. And Leah, like I said, we've got YouTube channels. We actually got 3 of them. We're trying to consolidate. But we're on X, we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook. We do all the social media. But yeah, we're starting to upload some of our back content too from the past 2 years. So look forward to seeing some of that.
You mentioned your son Brooks Jensen, and he wrestled on the independent scene. And you guys actually got to have a match a couple years ago. Did you ever think, first of all, did you ever want your son in the professional wrestling business? And then did you ever think you'd actually get to have a match with him? Because that's got to be a pretty cool father-son moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew he would. I knew there was no sense in me trying to stop it. I knew he would. He was he was just that's all he thought about. Everything else in life, pretty much up to that point was just pro wrestling. He was a standout amateur wrestler. He was state champion amateur wrestler over in Alabama as a heavyweight. And he was a pretty good football player too. But he just, everything was just to further his path along to being a pro wrestler. So I knew he would. We actually, I dare say he started refereeing when he was 14. Now, all these were places that were friends of mine in the business. I didn't just put him out there and turn him loose. At 14 years old, he can't even drive. So we would go to he asked me to train him, and I said, well, I'll tell you what, we'll let you referee a few matches. It's been my experience that sometimes if you let them referee a couple of matches, it lets them get out in front of the crowd without some of the pressure of being in the spotlight. So we did that. I think he had maybe his first match at 15 or 16, and he just rocked on from there. But it got to be, like I said, these are friends of mine, these promoters, places I've worked over the years, and friends of mine that I work with that are promoting now. And inevitably, somebody said, well, hey, would you want to, get in there and tag with him? And of course, I had a retirement like everybody else. My first retirement was in 2014, I believe. When I joined the sheriff's department down here, they threw me a real nice retirement. We had a packed house. D-Lo came down. Me and D-Lo tagged one last time. But I knew that if either one of the boys wanted to get into it, that I probably had one or two more matches in me, because I thought it would just be cool to be able to tag with them. And we did, but it kind of turned into a whole tour around the state of Georgia, me and him, and we actually won the Southern Fried Tag Team belts at one point. Now, mind you, this was only like 4 years ago, so it wasn't like I was 32 and still had springs in my legs. I was trying to keep up with him and trying to keep up with these guys that he was wrestling. So that almost killed me. It literally took me almost a year to recover from that, but I had a blast. It was so much fun. And yeah, we did wind up working each other, and it was only about 3 or 4 minutes into the match, and I realized that I think there's a point in your life when you realize you have met someone who is the equal or more than what you are. And I chopped him and he chopped me, and I thought my heart stopped. And at that point, I said, you know what? You got the crown, buddy. Yeah, that match didn't go much longer than that. I had a lot of big plans in my head, and about 5 minutes in, I said, shit, I can't do this. So, but yeah, we did. And my other son, Zach Buchanan, he's actually the leader of the Rebirth faction. He's going to be a star. He's 6'3", 220. Just does some uncanny stuff off the ropes. He's a little bit of an acrobat. So, but he's worked for me since the beginning, and he worked for a lot of the bigger promotions around here, and so he's down in Orlando right now with Ben, trying to further his career down there. So, but yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm sure at some point, maybe if I can drag myself in there one more time, maybe me and him will tag or something. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I knew they were both going to want to do it, so I'd already planned on it.
That's it's awesome. That's fantastic. And to think, right? We're talking, God, you've been in the business for quite a bit of time now. Like you just said, down to Orlando, like the things have changed, the way, if there was a place like Orlando for you to go and train when you were coming up,
Oh, Yes. The
Save
first time
yourself
I
a
went,
lot of miles.
yeah, we trained in my trainer Olin James, James Hammond. We lost him this past year. We trained in backyard. We trained in a barn at one point, and winters here in Georgia aren't nearly as bad as they are in some other places, but they still get pretty cold, especially when you're out in a barn. But we trained out there in January and February and March, and we trained wherever we could find. And first time I went down there, which Ben had told me about it, but the first time I went down there, they had like 7 or 8 rings. They got a ring. It's basically it's a full size WWE ring. And it's basically an air mattress inside. So when they want to practice the all those crazy flips and that kind of stuff, they got a little bit of protection anyway. But yeah, it's unbelievable because I remember I was actually probably, I think, in Smoky Mountain, I'm not sure. I have to talk to him to make sure, but yeah, I think even at Smoky Mountain, they were already looking at some of Cornette's younger talent. I know they already had their eye on Glenn Jacobs. Undertaker came down and worked him at Smoky Mountain. He had a lot of young talent down there, and then they had their eye on already. And that's where I got my opportunity. But it wasn't a developmental system at all. And then when I first signed, I signed with WWE. They sent me and Dwayne Johnson and Bart Sawyer down to Memphis, and I think that probably we were the first developmental class. Now, I'd been working about 1.5 years, 2 years. I think Bart had been working about the same length of time. Rocky had been working. He hadn't really been working, but his dad's Rocky Johnson, so he had been working out and training I believe down in Houston, and I think Pat had already been down there. So it wasn't like he just stepped into the ring. Plus, with all the lineage he had, but we were probably the first development, and it wasn't somewhere you went and trained. It was a working territory still at that time. You worked 6 days a week. A lot of times you worked 7 or 8 or 9 times during that 6 days. We worked 3 times on Saturday. We would do live TV at the TV studio at 9 o'clock in the morning. Then we had a house show at the Big One Flea Market over on the other side of Memphis, and then we had Nashville, which was 4 hours away that night. So, you just went in and went right to work. And then OVW was the first actual full service, as Cornette would say, developmental system where they could bring somebody in that had no knowledge of pro wrestling, get them in the ring, teach them the ropes, teach them, the business from all sides, do the whole thing. And so I've watched it evolve from nothing to what it is now. And it's amazing.
Yeah, remarkable. And you meant like Smoky Mountain, USWA. You had a cup of coffee in ECW, which I was quite fond of. I got to ask about the Truth Commission, especially because Don Callis is all over TV now. You go from being the Punisher in Smoky Mountain and USWA, and then here we go. You're getting the call to the big show. You're going to be in the Truth Commission.
Yep.
What goes through your head? Here you are, this badass, the Punisher, and now you're just like, it was such a weird thing.
Yeah, so I had no idea. I was down in Memphis, like I said, I was doing Punisher down there just because that's what I was doing in Smoky Mountain, and I got a call to go up for a costume fitting, and at that time they actually had a costume. It was actually a fashion. It was in the Fashion District of New York City. And they actually had a big studio down there where they did all the costumes at. Because this was it was right at the beginning of the Attitude Era, I guess. So there's still a lot of the Undertaker was he had just done the what was it, the Batman kind of, the wings. Yep. And so the outfits and the gimmicks were still pretty elaborate, before everything kind of turned in the Attitude Era. But so I went down there and I saw the drawing of it. And I figured out from there, okay, well, it's something military. And then I got a call. Well, they brought us up to Stanford. It was me, Robert, Kurgan, and Mike Hallett, Tank. He was Mantar in WWE. That was the original Truth Commission, along with Robin Smith, who was the Commandant. Now, Robin was so the story that was told to me by Robin was that Bret Hart was over in South Africa doing a Sinbad episode, and Robin was an actor over there, and he was acting on that episode. And so they got together and started talking, and they talked this whole Truth Commission thing up. Bret went back, pitched it to Vince. Vince liked it, of course. 3 big guys dressed in military. Vince loved it. So they knew Bret knew Robert from he'd already been out, I think, to the Heart, out to the one of their training camps before. So, and he was from Canada. And they knew Mike. Mike had previously worked up there as Mantar, so Bret knew Mike, and they were looking through a book of some of the guys that weren't on the road or they were under contract but wasn't doing anything right now. And Bret saw a picture of me, and I had the crew cut at the time. He said, "Well, he looks like he'd been in the military, so let's put him in there." So that's how I got in there, and we went to Stanford, and Robin taught us how to march and how to do all that stuff because he had actually been a soldier in the South African military. So we did that for a couple of weeks and then sent us back down to Memphis. And I think we stayed down there maybe 6 months or so, just working on it. And then got the call up. But we got the call up and, we were rocking. It was, like I said, Vince liked it and Bret was behind it. So of course they were going to give it a shot, and then we were right in the middle of gang warfare. It fit right in at the time. It was very convenient for them at the time. Another 4-man group, what we were building up to, Survivor Series, the whole gang warfare thing. Prior to that, I got a call from Robin. Well, we all did, but I got the call from Robin, and he had some visa trouble, and they let him go. So of course we didn't. We were worried, okay, what does that mean for us? And we had heard, now, we didn't get into the whole thing with Bret and Sean. Bret was, of course, one of our benefactors there at the time, but we didn't get into the whole thing. But we had heard rumors that Bret might be leaving. So, and on top of that, now we're wondering, okay, so where does that leave us? And Don came in. Mike Hallett never made it to the main roster. Don't know why. God rest his soul. He passed a couple of years ago, but don't know why. Don't know what their thinking on it was. But they brought in Luke Poirier. Luke Poirier wrestled over in Germany for Otto Wantz. And he wrestled as Rambo over there and was a huge star over there. So brought him in and put him with us. And Don came in. Well, they all knew Don because they were all Canadian. So they had, wrestled and been around Don. So they knew Don. I didn't know Don. But, I could tell right off that, you knew he could talk. But we had a house show, and we had a 6-man match, the 3 of us. And then he had a singles match, and he went out there and tore the house down. I had no idea, I mean, I figured he wrestled, but I had no idea. And he went out there and tore the house down. I never understood why he didn't wrestle more than he did. Of course, he was more valuable to us as a mouthpiece, but Scott's tremendous. I made the comment when he came back through the curtain. I said, "Damn, man, we need to be managing you." I mean, he was good. He had a great match. And it's funny to see him after still going at it after all these years. It's great. Good guy. We had a lot of fun. Because it was all of our first time there, so everything was still new. Every road trip was just a new adventure, and we all rode together. We got we'd get a minivan or something. We had to get something big because Kurgan was 7 foot legit. So, but we had a good time. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then it kind of like the Truth Commission kind of ends, and then like you end up back in OVW, and then they bring you up for, you're kind of with the boss man, and then Right to Censor comes to be, and that's probably like the most, no, because B2 was pretty good too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Right Censor probably had the longest legs of anything. I was such a big Boss Man fan growing up. And watching him, and then getting to tag with him. And then we became friends outside the business. Our families hung out together. So it was just great. I was really disappointed when they broke us up. But Ray had some stuff he had to get done on his knee. And I think they were just going to let me go as a singles for a little bit. And then me and Stevie had got to be friends over the time I was up there, and we were in Albany, New York, and he came up and said, "Well, I think they're putting you with me." And I had seen him go out, but I didn't know. I didn't really know what he was doing. I just saw him wearing the shirt and the tie, so I didn't know. I asked him. I said, "Well, are we Mormons, or what are we doing here?" And he said, but he laid it all out to me, and I said, God, man, that's great. If they give it a push, if they get behind it just a little bit, man, it'll get some heat, and they did, and it did. It got a ton of. It got bigger, I think than we actually, and I'm pretty sure it got a little bigger than the office actually thought it would get. It's a shame because I think we all thought it might have had more legs under it than what it did. But, we just bought out WCW, and overnight Angles finished and things, just kind of got not tidied up. You know what I'm saying? We had to totally change gears and go in a different direction. So I guess that's why they were wanting to pull the plug on it. But, I know that there were plans. There was going to be a slow destruction. Stevie would be the one to talk to about that, but I know that it was going to be a slow destruction, not the fast come apart that we had, but a slow implosion to end the whole thing. But yeah, it got everything. Like I said, when we bought them out, everything changed.
That's why.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's just wild how much that affected everything that was going on. It was just like a 180 right there. This is what we're doing, and then we're just gonna change course. And unfortunately, you guys were victims of circumstance.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I was sitting next to Ron Simmons. We got to be pretty good friends, and I was sitting next to Ron Simmons at the meeting when Vince told us, and he was laying the whole thing out to us, and I looked at Ron and I said, kind of whispered, I said, "Well, that's good for us, isn't it?" And I remember that it was he was, Yeah, I look back on it now, and I thought, God, he was right. Because my reaction was, I said, no, he wouldn't do that to us, would they? And he gave me that look like, okay, yeah, I didn't think that. But no, how do you not put Booker T on TV? Unfortunately, I don't say unfortunately. God, they got a ton of talent. It was a weird time, and there were so many guys there. I feel like a lot of people got kind of fell through the cracks. Mark Jindrak, Sean O'Hare, Chuck Palumbo, those guys like that. They were my size, and and they were probably a little bit younger, but they had a lot of talent, and they all had runs up there, but just not big ones. Like I figured that they would. Rodney Mack, guys like that. It just seemed like they were just churning guys in and out at that time. But yeah, unfortunately, you didn't get the Goldbergs and the Flairs and the guys like that, the Steiners. All those matchups that everybody said, when everybody sat down that night and tuned in their TV and realized what was going on, first thing that probably popped in everybody's mind is, oh my God, Goldberg against Stone Cold, Scott Steiner against Triple, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And unfortunately, a lot of those guys didn't come, but like I said, you got Booker T. I mean, how do you not put that guy on TV? You know?
Isn't it crazy too that Rodney Mack is still working right now? He's still
Yes, it
wrestling for the
is.
NWA. It's crazy.
Yes, I saw him not long ago. Me and Zach actually came out to the NWA thing at Center Stage here in Atlanta, and I saw him. Yeah, that's cool. Him and Jazz, man, they were two really cool people. I just, I hated it that, the way I got took out with Cena and Rodney Mack. I just hated it that he didn't have a better run with that than he did. I kind of figured that okay, well, they're going in this direction with him. Maybe he'll get elevated by this, and he did. But just like I said, I mean, there's a lot of guys that got a run, and it didn't last. It didn't. It didn't get that. I mean, I got a pretty much a 8, close to 9 year run up there. I can't complain about that at all. But you just think some of those guys would have been there longer and been more successful. Chuck Palumbo came over to Japan after I left. I went to All Japan. Me and D'Lo did. Chuck Palumbo come over there, man. He was great. I mean, he was big and he was in shape and he could move and he could fly around and all the things you would look for. And it's always amazed me. Those guys didn't go. Johnny Stamboli came over. Same deal. Albert, Matt Bloom. There was a lot of guys that D'Lo, Eki, Umaga. There was a lot of guys that got let go during that time, and a lot of us wound up over in Japan and did really well over there. But I always wondered, why they didn't get a better run up there than they did.
So spending a lot of time in Japan, did you ever have a chance to try the raw horse meat?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it actually ain't bad. So I used to be pretty picky about what I ate. And so when I first went over there, I remember Mike Awesome was me and Mike had worked, another guy that I looked up to, because my philosophy when I got in the business, when I kind of started figuring out, how the business worked, and I hadn't figured out how to get over yet, but I knew there was such a thing as getting over. And I thought that my athleticism would set me apart from other guys that were my size. And one of the guys I saw do that was Booker T, of course. Another one I saw do that was Billy Gunn, but another one was Mike Awesome. And I always thought it'd be great if I got a chance to work him. And we got a chance to work, but he was my contact over in Japan. He's the one that called me and made the introductions and everything. And he told me, I said, listen, man, what is there to eat over there? And he said, listen, there's a McDonald's in every town. He said, in just about every town, there's a KFC. And I said, well, hey, I'm golden. I will tell you that cat, what's the guy, the film
Colonel?
producer? No. The film producer a few years ago that did the McDonald's diet. I can tell you.
Spurlock, right?
Yeah. I can tell you that there's something to that. I ate McDonald's for a week, and I didn't eat it for another year. I was begging for anything except McDonald's. So I actually got to where I'd try just about anything over there. The cow tongues, they slip that in on you. That's always a good ha-ha for them. You're sitting there, and I mean, if you don't know, it really is pretty good. You think, damn, this is good. What is this? Oh, it's a cow tongue. Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing for me. Like, I'd have to know what I was eating, and if you told me it was like cow tongue or raw horse, like, I think I'm out.
Right, you wouldn't try it. So I guess that's why they don't do it. But yeah, they did. There's this game they play over there. I guess the wasabi sauce. You order like 3 or 4 of you'll order maybe 6 or 7 egg or sushi rolls. Well, one of them's chock full of damn wasabi sauce, and you just keep eating until whoever the unlucky person that gets it is, and guess who that person usually is? The dumbass American in the group. And I swear the fire came out my nose. I was ready to hit somebody. I've never I kind of swore I loved sushi before that, but after that, I just couldn't eat it anymore. Yeah, but no, the food's great over there. I loved it. I got to where I would just eat almost. I try almost anything.
What was one thing? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Tony. No, go ahead, Tony.
What was one thing you tried over there that you were just like, nah, this ain't for me?
Calamari.
Really?
I tried it.
Really?
And, yeah, I tried it, and I was like, God, this is chewy. I can't, and it's like, oh yeah, it's a cartilage, and I just got that. I got that image in my head, and I could never get it out. So I was, you know what? That's a little too far for me. I never tried the blowfish. I didn't want to wind up dead or anything like that. So,
but the calamari, was it one of those gimmicks where it was live on your plate? Because I've seen videos of they're crazy. They'll just eat shit while it's moving on your plate.
Yeah, no, this was actually it's kind of like tempura. It was fried. It had a crust on it. But one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life was over there. I don't remember what town it is. I want to say it might have been Osaka. But there was a restaurant they used to carry us to. It was a pretty good sized restaurant. But in the middle of it, it had of course, it wasn't a full size fishing boat, but it was a fishing boat set in a man-made pond. And I guess you paid extra and you could go on the boat and sit there and they give you a fish pole. You actually caught your fish out of the man-made pond and they filleted it right there in front of you. And yeah, when they'd fillet it right there in front of you, it'd still be jumping when they filleted it. It was still twitching around. So, but yeah, one of the coolest things I've ever seen, a damn boat floating in a man-made pond out there in the middle of a damn restaurant. You ever go get on and catch your own fish?
That's wild.
Yeah.
Do you ever go to any of those restaurants where they have like the girls dressed up like the anime characters and they giggle and they serve you and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, every bar over there. I think we made a point to try every bar we could find over there, and the karaoke bars. So a typical night, if you have a sponsor over there, it's somebody, maybe you get to that town, maybe it might be a business or it might just be a individual, but they're usually somebody that the office knows and the office trusts. But the office will come to you and say, hey, you got somebody that wants to, they want to be your, usually it's one or two more guys, but they want to be your sponsor. So they'll take you out, usually you'll start maybe at a restaurant, get something to eat. Then it's to the bar, then you drink, then you go to the karaoke bar and you drink some more and do karaoke. And then it's back to another bar and you drink a little more. And then usually another karaoke. So they keep you out. They'll run you all night. But it's great because they're paying for everything. You're living it up on their dime. They just enjoy being around the wrestlers.
Did you have a
go? I think we're about to ask the same thing.
Go ahead, Brondo. Brondo hasn't said all day.
Did you have a go-to karaoke song over there?
My buddy Kea, we used to sing what is it, New York, Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
That used to be the favorite. That one, and D-Lo liked what was it, Michael Bublé, the Coming Home song. Yeah.
I can't see D'Lo Brown singing Michael Bublé.
Oh God, yeah. Well, after a few adult beverages, we do a lot of stuff that we. Thank God.
I'm sure you have stories.
So.
They ever take you out to Roppongi there?
Oh God, I don't know what the office was actually thinking. Apparently they weren't. But they booked us in a hotel in Roppongi there for a few tours, and it didn't have any major complications, but it definitely it probably definitely put a strain on the work rate over there for a few. Yeah. No, they booked us there for a few tours, and then they got us out of there. They got us back over to a little more sane part of town. But Yeah, we had a good time. They would always carry us to Ribera, of course. And we had to, we when they brought us over to All Japan, we were doing a thing called ROD. Muda had just bought the company, and he wanted a group of foreigners to run against him in the baby faces, of course. And Taka was already over there, and Taka, of course, had been in New York with all of us, so he had the inside track on who was going might be free coming up, and so he kind of funneled us in there. And the original group was myself, D'Lo, Mike Awesome, Taka, of course, and Jerry Toot. He was the Wall in WCW. He unfortunately passed away over there, and so then the group became me, D'Lo, Taka, and Umaga, Eki, Edward Fatu, and Taio Kea, who had already been over there. He trained over there, and he was there through the early and mid '90s. He'd been over there for a while, but yeah, we had a group over there. So we talked the office into, the office said we need a place where the ROD, the group, can be their office. And I'm pretty sure it was Umaga, because that's the way he thought. He said, "Hey, I got a great idea. Why don't we make Ribera our office?" So that way, every time we went to shoot a promo, we got a free steak, free meal, a free jacket, all free beer we could drink. So yeah, Ribera was our office / home. So we made ourselves at home there. But yeah, Ribera was a great place, and it's not big at all. People would be amazed. I mean, everybody's seen the jackets and everybody's heard about it, and they have this big, huge steak place in mind, and it's a small little bar. But it's got some of the best pictures, man. The pictures from Harley, Road Warriors. Anybody who's anybody in pro wrestling has probably got a picture up in there.
It's so unique to look at your career, Bull, because it's 30 years ago now is when you were in SMW. Like, did you envision that you'd still be talking about SMW and USWA and the right to censor and all this stuff? Like, and even your Japan run between All Japan and Noah, like, you've shared the ring with literally everybody in the wrestling business. It's pretty wild to look at.
Oh God, man, I just really blessed. I was just a kid from Georgia. I had size, of course, on my side. I was 6'6" in high school. I was bigger than every other kid all through school, so I had size on my side. But I had a fairly athletic, and I just wasn't going to take no for an answer. It's what I wanted to do. But no, I never dreamed that I'd get to my ideal of success in the business. And when I first got in, like I said, got in and got comfortable and kind of started figuring stuff out and started traveling a little bit. My business model was, if I could make $500 a week and not have to work a regular job, this would be successful for me. And God, man, I've done, like I said, I've been blessed. I've done a lot more than that. But no, I never dreamed that WWF WrestleMania, as big as it got and everything, I never dreamed of any of that.
That's why WrestleMania, you are Wrestle Kingdom, like you've been everywhere. It's awesome. And now we got Bullpen Professional Wrestling, and your son is doing well, and your other son sounds like he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And we got to ask, well, we're not going to keep you much longer. I know you're a busy man, but I got to ask. I ask every guest this question. When was the last time you shit your pants?
In the ring?
Anywhere.
It wasn't full blown. I mean, I didn't blow it out the sides or anything, but it was over in Japan. And I think I was working Kinski. I'm pretty sure I was working Kinski. It was nothing he did. It was just a suplex. But man, there was a bug going around on the bus over there. And I remember I sat out in the bus until we had cell phones over there. And I sat out in the bus, and Kea called me. He's like, "Okay, they're getting ready to play our music, and I ran in the back door and got out to the ring, and it was just a suplex. But I remember standing on my head and thinking to myself, God, I hope when I land this don't. And when I landed, it was one of those, you couldn't really tell, but it was it felt a little funny. Like I said, I've heard stories. I heard a story one time. I don't know if it's true or not. Somebody can probably back it up. But I'm pretty sure I thought Eki told me the story, so he would know. Back in Rodney, Yokozuna, they were family, and he told me that because we were talking one day about Rodney, and he was telling me that when we do the bonsai drop, I said, how does he see where they're at before he does it? He said, he doesn't. He puts them in the same place every time, and he just knows that's where he's got to be. Well, some rocket scientists they brought in up there, and I don't know who, like I said, I mean, I can't verify this story, but it was, some smart guy they brought in up there. When Rodney put him where he was supposed to put him, where he wanted him to be, this guy thought he needed to scoot up a little bit, so he scooted up. No, Rodney can't see him, So he comes off and lands right on this guy's stomach and said it blew out both sides of his trunks. If the story's true, and I wish somebody would verify this for us, but if the story was true, Vince was standing right there but at the Gorilla when he walked back through and get the hell out of my ring, get the hell out of my arena, and then come back. Yeah, that's it's one of those traits. It's like the NASCAR drivers, like when you really get to thinking about it, like how do they hold it for 4 or 5 hours sometimes? Well, shit, maybe they don't.
No,
It's the stuff the little inside stuff that they don't really talk about. Astronauts, I guess, but yeah, you gotta be careful. It happens. I've heard stories of a lot worse than that happening.
Oh, we've gotten a few good stories on this podcast from some guests, and I think Steve Austin said he shit his pants when Yokozuna did that to him too.
Yeah, he may. Yeah, I mean, well, Rodney will take care of you, but I mean, he's still got 450. Yeah. I got to meet him a couple of times, and I remember the first time I met him when I first signed with Vince. Back then, J.J. Dillon was actually the head of talent relations. This was actually before JR. So they would fly you up. JJ would give you a tour, and then you'd go in and sit down with Vince and, talk over, kind of get to know each other, that kind of thing. And so I already knew that they were having a pay-per-view in South Carolina. So when I went in and sat down with Vince, I didn't know what he was going to ask me, but I already knew what I was going to ask him. And so we went through our whole little, talked a little bit. And I said, well, I already had a prepared speech in my mind. I know he probably got a kick out of it because I sounded like I was trying to sell him, some kind of bathroom accessory or something. But I said, well, Mr. McMahon, I see that you have a pay-per-view out in South Carolina coming up in a few weekends. And he's like, well, in typical Vince, he was like, well, yes, we do. And I said, I'd really be interested in coming out, if you guys would let me. And he said, you'd want to come out to that? And I was like, of course. He said, okay, well, we'll get, I'll get with travel. And I said, oh, no, sir, that'd be fine. I can drive myself out. And he said, you drive all the way out? I said, yes, sir, absolutely. I was probably, I might have been one of the first. I wasn't the first, but I was one of the early members of the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club because I was trying. Of course, you're trying to make a good impression on it, and I was trying to. And so, me and my buddy, I had a buddy that I trained with, Bulldog Reigns. He wrestled out in Memphis for a few years, but we trained together. So he rode out there with me. So we went out there, and we're standing backstage, and I can't remember which one it was, but anybody that stumbles across it, you'll know which one it is. There was a huge blackout. Power went off. The pay-per-view actually went off the air. This was back during pay-per-view. You had to pay for it. Actually went off the air. They had a lightning strike right there close to the building. It was off for maybe 30 minutes or something, and they had to run a match out there and do so. And Yokozuna was standing back there in the back, and me and Bulldog were standing there. We were trying to stay out of the way because nobody knew who we were. We were trying to stay out of the way, low key. But there were some other guys standing there looking out the curtain. So we walked up and started looking out the curtain. I remember Rodney walked behind us and said, You're a bunch of marks. Get away from the curtain. Scared the shit out of me and my buddy. So, we were about ready to leave the building at that point. But yeah, man, he was a great guy, man. Just unfortunate, another one of them guys, man, just gone too soon.
Yeah.
That was Beware of Dog in Your House 8.
Yep.
Where the lights went out.
Yep. South Carolina. Yep.
Last question, Bull. I know we kept you super long, and I apologize. We're having such a good time. You have a couple kids, so I'm going to assume you've been married.
Yep.
What's the line? Would you ever take a shit while your wife was in the shower? Because somebody on this podcast, it was emergency. It was an emergency.
I've been married 27 years. There ain't much we done in front of each other. So, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be my first choice, but if all the bathrooms are tied, our house, we had, I think, 4 bathrooms. And I'm like, how in the hell can all these bathrooms be tied up at one time? But inevitably, it happens. And, yeah, I mean, if you had to, you had to.
I'm with, look.
Wait. You wouldn't do that to one of your kids, though, would you?
Oh, yeah, in a heartbeat, yeah. Yeah. Because trust me, they've done it to me.
Oh, yeah, God. The kids are more accessible. Acceptable.
It's preference.
Accessible? Yeah. What?
They've done it to me, so yeah, I wouldn't think twice about it.
Kyle, is there anything you'd like to ask Mr. Buchanan before we let him go? You've been really quiet over there.
No, I was letting him do his thing. I was a big B squared guy back in the day.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you were there with John Cena. Like he was there for like a year or so, was kind of floundering, and then all of a sudden he gets paired with you, and his ascent kind of begins. So I think it's fair to say that all of his success is probably due to you. Is that correct?
Well, you could say that, but I don't know how many people would believe it. No, he honestly, man, I knew pretty quick that he was gonna. Now I don't think anybody could really know that he would turn into what he did, but I knew that he was going to be successful just because I saw him first out in California. He was working for Bassman out there, I think, and he would come do dart matches. And, the first one, he wasn't bad, but he was still kind of rough around the edges. And then we'd come back in, 3-4 months, we'd come back out and do a show, maybe in LA or San Diego somewhere. And he'd do another dart match. And he'd get a little better, and he'd get a little better. And then I ran across him down in OVW. He looked like of course, he's always, but even at that time, even more so, he looked like $1 million. I mean, just
right.
You've seen any pictures of him back then. He was even more jacked than he is now.
He was a bodybuilder, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was a competitive bodybuilder. But I didn't know if he could talk. And then once I saw him in OVW, and I saw he could. You never know. You can never tell for sure because, like I said, man, a lot of good talent has fallen between the cracks. A lot of guys, I thought during my time there, I saw guys come through, and I thought, man, they are going to make it, and they just never clicks, or they never get the chance, or whatever. But so you never know for sure. But I had a feeling he was going to do good, and then so. When I got back on the road before they put us together, I was doing dart matches and I was doing the house shows, which was great because, that was a ton of money back then. So I was back on the road doing that. And me and Devon, of course, me and Devon and Bubba, with me and Ray and then me and Godfather, we'd worked together just a ton over the last, 2-3 years. We'd worked together a bunch. So we got to be friends. And when they split him and Devon up, me and Devon and Shelton Benjamin were riding together. And Batista was doing Devon, he was collecting the money for Devon. That's when they were doing the Reverend Devon. They were doing that whole thing. And we were riding one night, and I think we were going to Mohegan Sun up in New York. And I remember Dave sitting there saying that he was worried that they were going to let him go. And I said, you crazy? I'm not going to let you go, man. But he was like, yeah, I mean, I don't, they're kind of, okay, well, we don't know what to do with you. This might be your last. Like I said, it was a time when guys were getting. I got a couple. I got several shots. I got and wasn't always greatest gimmick, but you gotta make chicken salad out of chicken shit sometimes. That's kind of your job. So you can't really complain about the gimmick. You just take it and do the best you can. But I couldn't see that. And then I was surprised to find out that John kind of felt that way too. But when Stephanie heard him doing that rap, that's how it happens. And I was walking backstage. I think me and Shelton Benjamin were walking backstage. I had no idea. I saw what he was doing. But one of the writers come up and said, "Hey, yeah, you're gonna be with him." I said, "Well, so what am I?" And and I don't know who this guy was. I mean, he was a small white guy, and it sounded so absurd coming out of his mouth. But he said, "Oh, you're gonna be the quotation marks homie." And I remember looking at Shelton, and Shelton looked at me, and we were just like, "Okay, all right." So, but then they kind of laid it out more as like, okay, it's a bodyguard. But me and John got talking about it, and then me and Shelton got talking about it, and I thought, why not take this in a different direction? And because a white guy being a rapper is comedy. It's irony, it's comedy, and that's what it was back then. Me and Shelton Benjamin were on the way, and I had bought. I brought it on that tour because back then, like I said, it's a different time. You had to actually buy something and put in something to hear music. So I just bought the new Eminem CD, and it dawned on me. Me and Shelton Benjamin were going out to look for some kind of get up, and it dawned on me. I said Slim Shady, because I was a huge Eminem fan, and I said Slim Shady. That's it. The white beater, the pants, the whole ideal was basically Slim Shady. So that's the way we went with it. I mean, we had a good time. I mean, I enjoyed the hell out of it. I think John did too. They were pretty. They let him kind of do what he wanted to on the raps, and some of them on the house shows were. I mean, some of them were pretty brutal on the house shows. Some of them were pretty brutal on TV. Some of those he did with Eddie and Chavo. I was like, have you run this by them? Are they okay with this? Now, I guess we'll find out when we get out there, but no, it was great. And, and a good dude too. He didn't, he didn't come from money. He wasn't a rich guy getting into this. He was out there in California, basically living out of his car at some points, and just clawed and scratched and succeeded. I mean, it's a success story because up to the point where he started rapping, nobody had really given him anything. I mean, he went out there and worked for it, and he got a shot. He took advantage of it. He got to OVW. He got a shot down there. He took advantage of it, and he got up on TV. And honestly, I think it happened on that European tour. When he was rapping in back of the bus, he saw a shot and he took it, and here we go. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. I guess is what I'm trying to say. He's a good dude. Down to earth guy. You can tell by the way he treats fans and the Make-A-Wish stuff. Good dude.
Bull, you're a good dude. We appreciate you. You took way so much time tonight. We would love to have you back anytime you want to shoot the shit. We didn't even scratch the surface. There's so much we could talk about with you.
Yeah.
But I mean, anytime you have to promote Bullpen or you just want to come on and shoot the shit, you have an open invitation. If you just throw Bullpen Pro Wrestling into YouTube or Instagram, the promotional show up, give it a follow. Bull's doing great stuff down there, and check it out. Support him. Bull, anything you want to leave the fans with before we let you go?
Just man, I appreciate it. Like I said, I mean, I was a kid from Georgia. I had no dreams of doing what I did, and just appreciate the fans. Still appreciate them. Still coming out today. It amazes me. People still today are talking about stuff I did 30 years ago. That's a real blessing. I mean, when you can do something that matters in folks' life. That you can tell when they talk to you, when they're telling you about that time that they met you, in Owensboro, Kentucky at the Walmart. You can tell that it meant something to them. So that means something to me to know that I made a small difference in somebody's life. So just appreciate it.
We appreciate you,
awesome.
Bull. Like I said, anytime you want to come back on the show, we'd love to have you, man.
Yeah, same here, guys. I appreciate y'all having me.
Well, you have yourself a happy holiday and happy New Year, and we'll talk down the road.
Yep, same to you guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Bull. Merry
Have a great
Christmas,
night.
brother.
Thanks. Merry
Yeah.
Christmas, guys.
All right, we gotta do this now, right? We're gonna go.